Radical independence is one of the most important skills you will ever learn as a paramotor pilot. Hey there, my name is Trevor Steele, and over the last 12 years, I've trained over 566 students how to fly paramotors, and today I want to teach you a few of the things I've learned in that process. We as instructors have this natural inclination to want to lay your gliders out, hook you in, give you your controls, and help hold your hand throughout the entire process of learning to fly a paramotor. For us, it's easier. We don't have to watch you make the mistakes, which can be frustrating, aggravating, and all of those things. We could just do it for you, and it's faster. That right there is one of the most important little things that an instructor cannot get themselves to do, cannot catch themselves doing. You as an instructor, us as instructors, work really hard to do what we call radical independence. Here at Backcountry PPG, starting on morning number 1, we don't do any of those things. We allow our students to have room to breathe, to build these habits, to try things for themselves, to do it themselves from square one. I never want to be the instructor that's laying their glider out for the student, that is hooking the student in and grabbing controls. Obviously, there is a time and a place in which it can be beneficial to the student's learning, like when they're flying and trying to get as much reps as possible and are tired. But in the early phase, when you're building those habits, when you're building a baseline, a foundation that everything else is going to get built off of, it's extremely important that what you're doing is establishing that what is normal to the student is that they're doing everything for themselves. If they got used to the instructor always doing things for them, they're not going to be very independent. They're not going to know how to go out and do this themselves. And over the last 12 years and 566 students that I have personally trained, we've had a variety of different levels of independence that we've instilled in our students. From one side where we do everything for the students to the complete opposite side where we don't do hardly anything for the students and everything in between. In this process of trying different levels of independence, I've really learned where that sweet spot is, where it's too far to one side and too far to the other side. And the goal overall is that when students leave paramotor training, they're well equipped to handle themselves, go off and do this themselves confidently and safely without needing the instructor. If you fall too far onto the side of doing things for the students, what happens is they're less likely to want to go do this themselves because they almost feel like they need permission and they need help to go and do it. They lack the independence. They lack the self-confidence to just go lay their glider out, hook in, and go for it. Whereas if you go further to the independent side, or radical independent, like we call it, where we literally don't do anything for you physically. We're always watching, we're always making sure you're doing it correctly, but we're never doing it for you. That instills confidence in the student to be able to go off and do this independently, which you have to have. Now, this may sound like a silly, small thing to some degree, but it's the small things that make a huge, huge difference. If you take a student and spend 10 days with them, one where you're doing most everything for them and one where you're never doing anything for them, the difference at the end of those 10 days of training is huge. The student that is radically independent is able to get themselves out there and to go flying confidently, consistently, and quickly, whereas the student who had everything done for them is often struggling to do that process. Well, send them home on day 11 and have them go fly themselves. What happens is those students that didn't have that radical independence don't end up flying that often, oftentimes don't end up flying when they leave. Whereas those students that have that independence almost immediately are going off and starting to fly because what was normal for them is that they were the ones doing it. They were the ones bringing the gear out. They were the ones pre-flighting, fueling, laying their glider out, hooking in, and launching. And you would be totally surprised at the difference this makes. Having trained a lot of different students, some where we do a lot for them, some where we don't do anything for them, and everywhere in between, it is shocking the difference that this truly can make when the student goes home. Now, every student, every situation, and every day is different, but the goal of a paramotor instructor, the goal of a school, should be to really instill this radical independence into their student where they're able to go off and do this themselves. With all of that being said, we would love to have you attend one of our 10-day training courses. We've got our 2025 dates live on our website. Visit backcountryppg.com for more information. Call us, text us at 801-599-1684. My name is Trevor Steele. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.